Hey guys, what's going on? Phro Lombardi making a video on W's and M's, or double bottoms and double tops. I'm sure you guys have learned a lot about this already, but I'm putting my perspective on it. It's great to have good perspectives, different perspectives. Alright, let's get to it. Alright, so what is a W? What is a double bottom? A double bottom is a reversal pattern, right? Where the price will bounce down to a support and bounce off of it again, and then go back up. Alright, so it bounces off twice, creates this W shape. Pretty easy to see. Now, I want to give you guys a checklist to know when there's a true W and when there's a fake out. Alright, so check number one. You're in a downtrend. You need to make sure you're in a downtrend. Sometimes W's will form in uptrends, and that really won't mean anything. Often that'll mean that you're in a bigger M shape or a bigger double top shape, but I'll get back to that. So check number one, you have to be in a downtrend. Check number two, the bouncing, right, or the support level needs to be relatively strong. Why? It needs to be strong enough for there to be another bouncing off where there will be a W, right? So a W can be created. So you need to be in a relatively strong support. Now this is a weekly chart, so we already know that this is a very strong support, but just to confirm for you guys, I drew this resistance line right here to show you that there's a resistance area right over here. And this is a monthly chart, so that's a pretty strong resistance, right? And we can trace it back all the way over here. All right, so if you aren't really clear on that, you can go back to my support and resistance video and see why I know that's a strong support right there. All right, so that's your check number two. You're at a strong support in the area. Check number three, you need a good resistance in the area. It doesn't need to be as strong as the support, but you need a decent one in the area so that a W will have a neckline, right? So the W will have a little middle point right here. So let me draw this right there. Let me go to my monthly chart and see if that's a good resistance. Alright, so we see that there is a resistance area right here. Remember that support and resistances are areas, they're not pinpoints. So it doesn't mean that everything's going to touch the line exactly. But this is a resistance area, and this is an area where a middle or a neckline of the W can be drawn. Alright, next. This is not a requirement, but it's something that often happens. I'm going to go down to my daily chart and zoom out a little bit. Here's our big W. I'm just tracing that out so you see where we are. Now, in the middle, in the neckline, there will often be a double top. Alright, so in a big double bottom, in the middle, there will often be a double top. And I'll talk about those next, but it's pretty much the same principle. We have a resistance point where the price is reaching off of and is bouncing down, and we have a support level where there's a neckline. So there's a big old M right here in this bigger old W. Alright? Cool. So that's not a requirement, but that's often a telltale sign of a double bottom. Alright? The final point is that you need a candle that closes above the neckline to confirm a true W. Alright, so you'll see right here where my pointer is, this is the candle that closed above the neckline. The closing price was right over here. I'll get my crosshair. Closing price was right over here, 0.75112, and that was just above where the wick of the neckline is. I usually look for it at the close of the body, so if the close of this candle is above the close of the body of the resistance point, then that's good enough for me, and I'll enter that trade. Alright? Usually a lot of people will enter right here, and that's cool because they would get all of these pips right here. But just know that if it does not close above this neckline, it is not a true W. That was just a support, right? That was just price acting off of a support, and then it may bounce down off of this resistance and go down that way. So for a true W, you need that close. Alright? So, how do you know after you've entered your W when to exit? Well, let me show you a little thing I like to use is measuring out my W. So I go from the neckline right here, I have my crosshair, and I go down to my strong support. That's about 450 pips. I'm going to start back here and drag up until I get to about 450 pips. That's the area where the W will probably stop forming. Remember, these are all areas, okay? So not everything is definite, but this is a good area for you to exit. So if I was in this trade right now, I would be getting ready to find an exit point because, as we see, we're pretty much 450 pips right there. You can see. All right. So that's a good way to gauge them. All right. So you have your checklist that I gave you. You need to be in a downtrend. You need to have a strong support. You need to have a strong resistance. Sometimes you'll have an M, and you need a confirming closing candle. All right. Those are your W's. Now I'm going to go over to M's now. Oh, before I go over to M's, I wanted to show you this. I wanted to show you this example. Okay, so you see this W pattern right here. All right, pretty good, looks good. You're in a downtrend. You got your supports right here, but I wanted to show you how this didn't follow the gauging rule. What the hell's going on? Right? This didn't follow the gauging rule. Well, let me show you. Right here, we had a resistance point, right? So this is a pretty decent resistance point. We're on the daily chart. So if you're in the middle of a W, you always want to be looking for previous resistance points, because this can happen to you. You can be in this trade and you're going to think, oh, well, let's see. If I enter this trade after the confirming candle, I'll get about 296 pips. Guess what? You didn't get that. You got way below that. You need to make sure that you're keeping everything in check with your supports and resistances. That's why in my previous video, supports and resistances, I showed you guys how important it was to draw the lines. If I had drawn out all these lines, I would have a big old line right here, and I'd be like, oh, wait a minute, this W looks good, but I'm reaching a resistance point. Let me watch my trade closely and see signs of reversal. Guess what happened? You got a big old bearish candle right here, and we started moving back down. Alright, so I just wanted to throw that in there to let you guys know that yes, there are many confirming checklists and points for patterns, but you always want to go back to your support and resistance and see what's going on. Alright, patterns are not the end all be all of anything, by all means. Alright, let me zoom out though. I just wanted to show you guys something else. You can see there's a W right here. Alright, let me go to my weekly. Zoom in a little bit. Alright, cool. So it looks like we have a W forming here. This is the AUD USD. Alright, so this is kind of cool to look at because the W is not complete, so we can kind of speculate as to whether it will be a true W or not. So we're in a downtrend. We got this support right here. You draw a little line, see where that support is at on a bigger scale. Right here. There's your support. Looks like a pretty good support. Now, as you can see, I already drew my resistance line right here. See? So we got the W, the neckline right here. Alright, so I already drew that. You saw that on the previous chart. Why did I draw this? Oh, because there seems to be a resistance point. If you zoomed in over here, there's a resistance point over here. There's another resistance point over here. There was some price bouncing along over there. So that was another area that I was looking at. So I already have my resistance there. Alright, cool. So we also have that M shape in the middle. Alright, let me zoom out, show you guys a little bit better. We got that M shape going on. Alright? Kinda got a third top right there, but it's all good. You see the M shape. Alright? Pulled back down to the support, and now we're looking to see if the price will bounce up. Now, it seemed like it was kind of playing off of this resistance right here, alright? So, if you had entered over here, yeah, you would have gotten a lot of pips. But is this a true W yet? No, not yet. It's not a true W yet. We need that closing, confirming candle somewhere over here above the neckline to know that this is going to shoot up, alright? And if it does, if we do have that, we'll see that it'll break this resistance point right here. And we can kind of gauge it to be about 495 pips. Alright, so we'll kind of gauge it around this area. Alright, so I just wanted to show you guys, you know, a W in action, showing you how it might work. Alright, let me move over to M's now. It's the same principle, so I'm going to go over it a little bit more quickly. Alright, let me find a good example for you guys. I already found one. Alright, cool. So this is the weekly of the Euro USD. Now, same principles. We're just going to reverse them, all right? So this is the double top, the M shape. We're in an uptrend, right? This is the weekly chart. There seems to be a strong resistance in the area. I'm going to draw that out, see where we're at. Look to my monthly. All right, so we see we kind of have an area over there, and we kind of have a support area over there. It might be hard to see. I'm so zoomed out. All right, right here seems to be a support area. All right, and over here it looks like a little bit of a resistance area. All right, let me go to my weekly, see what's going on again. Right here seems to be a little bit of a resistance area. So that's good enough for me. All right. Remember, they're areas. They're not exact points. You need to remember that. Trading is not an exact science. All right, cool. So I'm back home right here. Oh, is that where I was? Sorry, guys. Give me a second. That was where I was. Okay, cool. All right. So we're in an uptrend. We have that resistance. Now let's see if we have that support. Guess what? Yes, we do. There's another M shape over here, and we see it right here acting as a support. Climbs back up to the resistance, and we have our closing candle. Sorry guys, I keep losing it. Got that closing candle right there. You can see that it closed below the neckline. Let me just grab my crosshair tool, pointing to that little one right there. Closed below the neckline. Perfect. All right, that's a good M. Now you'll see in this case we didn't really necessarily have a W shape in the middle. All right, so again, I wanted to remind you guys that that's not a requirement, but it's something that often happens, okay? However, over here, this seems to be an example where there is a W in the middle. Let me get over to there. We have our uptrend, we have a resistance, we have a support, we have a W in the middle, right? Guess what? That W even has an M in the middle of it. Alright, you can see that there's a big W right here, and even in that W there's a little M. Alright? So the W's and the M's within bigger W's and M's are not going to be as precise or as strict as the larger patterns. Alright, so you know all the checklists that I was talking about? They won't always apply to the W's and M's that are in the middle of a bigger W and M. Alright? So they're kind of going to be a little bit more lenient. Alright? So if you're kind of looking for that and you don't see a precise W in the middle of your M, or you don't see a precise M in the middle of your W, don't worry about it. Alright? Alright, yep, so we had that. We had our closing candle, which happened all the way down here. But you know what? That's good. Because, hey, if you entered the trade over here and it bounced back up, you would have been pretty upset. So it's alright if you lost that candle. You missed out on those pips. That's alright. And then we could do our little measuring out from the neckline to the top, so that's about 762 pips. So we would expect it to climb about somewhere over here. Now you see in this case it went beyond that, and that's awesome. Sometimes that will happen. But just remember, to be a safe trader, you will kind of start planning an exit around this area. And you'll see that there was a support right there. It did kind of start bouncing up, but in the end, we saw this really collapse right there. Alright guys, so that's kind of your W and M shapes, your double bottoms and your double tops. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a clarification on that, show you my perspective on that.